All right, welcome back to KG Constrictors. We're going to bother Miss Roxanne. She's extremely uncomfortable. I feel bad for her. She's laying in all different types of positions. This afternoon, she was draped over the water bowl. Now she's kind of piled up upon herself. Good scale separation. Body temperature's got to be a good 88. What is it? Oh, 91. Anywhere between 88 and the low 90s is good. She's on the cool side. She is due to have her litter of live babies 4 weeks from today. So excited. Basically, once the ovulation happens, you're looking at about 123 days till the babies come. So usually, about 18 days from the ovulation, there'll be a shed. That's the post-ovulatory shed. Then you count like 103 days from that, and you'll have your babies. So she is due on May 7th. She could go a couple days early. She could go a couple days late. In my experience, it's usually on the later side. Usually you don't go early. You don't really want them to go early. You want the babies to develop as long as they can. That way when they come out, the majority of the yolk that they have in their little membrane egg, when they come out live. They come out in, it's like a membrane, for lack of a better term. So they develop inside this membrane, inside the mom, where they've got a yolk sac and the whole thing. So when they come out, if they come out too early, they'll come out with an umbilical cord and, you know, a bunch of yolk. So if the longer they're in there, the better. That way when they come out, they've basically absorbed the majority of that yolk. If they come out and there's a little bit too much of it, you can kind of put them in a little deli cup for a day or so and see if they'll absorb it. And then after that, you want to kind of cut that away because you don't want it to go bad. And then the umbilical cord will kind of dry up, and sometimes it'll kind of go back up into their stomach and then dry up and fall off. But anyway, she is looking really good. I'm excited. I cannot wait. I'm going to set up a live webcam. So we'll be able to see her. And I'll put that link up. I think I'm going to probably put this, it's a Nest camera. It's really good and very clear. And it does night vision too. But I'm just going to keep the light on just to make it easier. 24/7. But yeah, I'll post that up. I think I'll start that on May 4th. In case she does go early. And we'll get her having her babies. I will position it on one side of the cage so we can get her having the babies. Most likely I will put it on this side over here. The warm side facing this direction. In my experience, they usually will have their babies on the cooler side. But at least I'll be able to get the entire cage length. So I am really, really excited. She's got good scale separation. And we'll see how many babies we get. I am excited. I have not had a litter of baby boas since 2014. That was Farrah's last litter. Farrah was my just amazing super salmon boa constrictor who was just textbook when it came to breeding and having babies. And she was such an amazing snake. I retired her and gave her to a good friend who he and his daughter basically gave her several more years of just an amazing life of living as a pet snake. Even though I consider all my boas pets, when you're breeding them, you know, part of the year they are eating, you know, and they're loading up on food. And the rest of the time they're breeding, you know, and basically pregnant. So when you're kind of really doing the breeding thing, unfortunately, you don't have as much time to interact with them like a pet, because they're packing a lot of food on, so they'll have that body weight come breeding time. Or they're breeding, you know, and they're developing their follicles and they're gravid, and you don't really want to handle them because, you know, they're basically producing babies, and you just don't want to mess up any of that process. So the downside is you don't spend as much time with your boa constrictors when you're breeding them, because it's such a long process. Part of the year is feeding, building up the body. You know, you're feeding them a couple of rats a week, you know, really piling it on. That is if you're one of those people that doesn't feed during breeding. Now, there's two schools of thought. Some people will feed them, and then once they start introducing the male, there's no more food. Other people will continue to feed during the breeding process, and it does work both ways. So it just kind of depends on which way you want to go with that. But ideally, when you're breeding them, majority is hands-off, which is unfortunate for the animal because they don't get as much personal interaction with you as they normally would. So this girl's awesome. I took her to the Prost Brewery in Fort Collins, and she was hanging all over everybody. She was just like the star of that night, and she's a super, super friendly snake. So after she has her babies, I will get her all cleaned up, get her, you know, eating food again, and then I will definitely be taking her out and interacting with her and loving on her and just being all appreciative for the fact that she is a beautiful animal and produced some beautiful babies, and I'm grateful for that. So I will make sure that she has some TLC and some quality time with me. She's the only boa this year that actually took. So she's it. But very, very excited to see her baby. So, all right, anyway, if you're new to the channel, thank you. Go ahead and hit the like button, ring the bell for future notifications of videos. Go ahead and subscribe. That would be awesome. I'd be honored if you would subscribe. If you're an existing subscriber and you're watching this video, thank you for your subscription. I know you got a lot of choices when it comes to YouTube, and I appreciate you watching my channel. I really do. Trying to be entertaining and educational. From my standpoint, when you're dealing with an audience, you got people that might be familiar with boas and breeding and genetics, so you don't want to talk about the basic stuff to them because they're like, yeah, I know that, Kev. Yeah, I know that. But then you got people who are kind of new, and maybe they don't understand the genetics, or they don't understand all the basic things that those of us who are familiar with boa constrictors take for granted, you know, like the boa constrictor 101, that kind of stuff. So when you're making videos, it's hard because I'm thinking, well, I got a pretty diverse audience. Some people, you know, they understand what a boa constrictor is, you know, how they're different from, say, a ball python or a reticulated python, you know, the breeding aspects, the fact that they have live young versus eggs, and there's just a lot of things that when you're doing a YouTube channel, you've got you got lots of different people in your audience. You've got people that are new that might not know anything, and you got people who are very experienced, and maybe they're breeding boas themselves, you know, or they've raised boas themselves. And so it's always kind of difficult. I try to cater to everybody. That's what I try to do. So hope I'm doing a good job. Either way, I appreciate you guys putting up with me and watching. Have a great night. It's Thursday night, so the weekend is upon us. And once again, I'm really excited because in 4 weeks, this girl is going to produce some baby boa constrictors, which will be the first ones that KG Constrictors has seen since 2014. So I'm very, very excited. All right, guys and gals, thanks again, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.